Yo, it's good everyone. This is Ayo Boxing from Adiba, and we're here to talk about if Josh Taylor is still an elite boxer. So it's fight week of the overdue rematch between Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall. These guys hate each other, so I'm expecting a good fight. Better than the first one for sure. It was supposed to happen in April, but it was postponed due to an injury suffered by Josh Taylor. To be honest, this fight should have happened last year or in 2022, when it had the most hype and interest around it, but it's finally here. And in my opinion, the timing of this fight actually makes it more interesting because this is a crossroads fight and it'll determine the trajectory for the careers of both fighters. This fight will determine if Catterall is truly a world level fighter and a championship boxer, and it'll determine if Josh Taylor is still an elite boxer that can compete at the highest levels. The winner of this fight will gain opportunities to get bigger fights, while the loser's stock will drop and will be forced to rebuild themselves, which makes this fight more important for Josh Taylor because I honestly believe he's on the tail end of his career and prime. Once upon a time, Josh Taylor was a top 10 pound for pound fighter in the world. He was the undisputed champion at 140 after beating Jose Ramirez in 2021, making him the second undisputed champion at 140 after Terence Crawford and the fifth undisputed champion in the 4-belt era. What makes this more impressive is that Ken Buchanan was the last undisputed Scottish boxer, and Buchanan is considered the best Scottish boxer in history. In 2021, Josh Taylor was a big name in the sport and was considered to be a top 3 boxer in the UK. There were many names linked to him as well. People wanted to see Gervonta Tank Davis fight Taylor. Bob Arum suggested that he moves up to welterweight to fight Terence Crawford. People wanted the Teofimo Lopez fight, calling it undisputed versus undisputed. And everyone at 140 was chasing Taylor. Josh Taylor was the man, and I was a big fan. But things have drastically changed now. Because of his last 2 fights, the controversial win over Catterall and getting outclassed by Teo, along with inactivity, nobody talks about Taylor now. He's not in the pound for pound list anymore, hardly no fighter calls him out, and outside of his core fan base, no one seems to have interest in him anymore. And to be honest, his core fan base has been absent in most boxing talks. It's like he faded into obscurity. I even seen people say he was overrated in a hype job. So crazy how things can change in boxing, but like what they always say, you're only good as your last fight. Now this is the question that needs to be answered. Is Josh Taylor still elite? As stated earlier, the rematch will provide us an answer, but I have my doubts. I'm not questioning his resume or skills because I always thought Josh Taylor was a good fighter. However, I'm not sure if he's the same fighter as he once was. 2021 was peak Josh Taylor, but he hasn't looked the same since. In the first Catterall fight, Taylor said he had a bad training camp and didn't take the fight seriously. And in the Teo fight, which I saw in person at the MSG, Taylor said his legs were gone and he wants to move up to welterweight after. And Taylor took a lot of punishment in that fight against Teo. But the most troubling thing about Taylor are his injuries. In a span of 3 years, Josh Taylor has had 3 or 4 injuries that caused fights to be postponed. He sustained a knee injury before the first Catterall fight, which pushed that fight from 2021 to 2022. Then he suffered a foot injury before the initial Catterall rematch, resulting in the March 2023 fight being scrapped. And now he sustained an injury this year, pushing the fight back from April to May.
Some guys have all the luck. I was born with glass bones and paper skin. Every morning I break my legs, and every afternoon I break my arms. At night, I lie awake in agony until my heart attacks put me to sleep. Oh, no! No! Ow.
I don't know what the hell Taylor does in his training camps and what makes him so injury prone, but I know for a fact that this isn't good for a fighter who's 33 years old. Inactivity is the worst thing for a fighter. Furthermore, this rematch is taking place at 140. Taylor has stated numerous times that he wants to move up to welterweight, which implies that he's weight drained and it's hard for him to make 140. Therefore, he's not fighting at his best at 140. Inactivity, injury prone, and weight drain is a recipe for disaster. And like what Catterall said in their face-off, I think Taylor has hit his ceiling. I don't think he'll reach the mountaintop again. Catterall is a bad style matchup for Taylor, and it's very possible that Catterall will punish Taylor. And to be honest, I don't want to see Taylor go out like that. I feel like the only reason Taylor's rematching Catterall is because there's no money and no one for him to fight at welterweight at the current moment, and he has no leverage as well. If he was still the WBO champion at 140, then that would make him the automatic WBO mandatory at welterweight. But now, he would have to fight a contender first, or maybe his name could land him a fight. There's Conor Benn, Jaron Ennis, Mario Barrios, Stanley Jonas, and now Brian Norman Jr. But is it really worth it for Taylor? I don't know. I'm interested to see how this rematch plays out. I'll most likely miss it because I'm going to a wedding this weekend, but I'll be rooting for Josh Taylor to win. But who knows, this is boxing, anything can happen. But thank you for tuning in with AEO Boxing from Adiba. Hit like, subscribe, and more content coming your way.